If you tried to rent recently, you know how hard it is to get in that market right now. There's lots of competition for units. Supply is limited. Prices are going up. It's put potential renters and tenants in a bind nationwide. It's important to know that there is help available. Josie Williams with the Greensboro Housing Coalition. She is here today to help us navigate the process. She's answering questions about rent issues, what to do if you get an eviction notice, how you can get help making rent. Here's how you get your questions to her. You text us those questions, 336-379-5775, and you get the question answered right away, and the question is anonymous. All right, so first and foremost, let's kind of give everybody like a big picture view. Explain what the Greensboro Housing Coalition does.
So the Greensboro Housing Coalition is an advocacy agency and referral agency. We advocate to help those maintain their housing. We advocate for the development of decent, safe, affordable housing. And we also have a foreclosure prevention team and a healthy homes team where we have certified inspectors that can provide a free service to you if you need your home inspected. And we also do landlord tenant rights education.
Okay, and we're going to be talking about all those things today. Can you give us kind of an update about what's going on here locally? I think the last time we talked, there were several apartment complexes that were doubling the rent on some folks. And so I know you guys were trying to work with them. What is happening now in our area?
You know, since we last spoke, the housing environment in our local area has increasingly become more challenging for those that are experiencing housing insecurity, particularly low to moderate income individuals and families. There still remains complexes where the tenants that live there are at imminent risk of displacement. More concerning here recently, we know one complex in particular, British Lakes, has a June 1st deadline to vacate the property or be prepared to pay double their rent. So we've been working with our city and county officials and organizations regarding those challenges to help provide some support. And we see that same dynamic across several complexes, but it's also a mirror image of what we're seeing across the state.
Right, and really even across the nation. And there are some places, some cities, some areas that have put a cap on how much landlords can raise rent, but that is not what is happening here in North Carolina. So a lot of times people say, is it legal for them to double the rent? And the answer is?
Yes. It is legal for a private owner to raise the rent, particularly if he is trying to bring that rent up to market value. In North Carolina, we do not have what one would call rent control, is what you were alluding to there. We know that other cities have begun to put those caps, but in North Carolina, we don't have such a law.
All right, so let's talk about some landlords and tenants and how we can do a really good job of making sure everybody communicates well. Let's just kind of do the 101, like keys to establishing a good relationship with your landlord.
Yeah, I think one of the key things is to not be afraid to speak with your landlord. Oftentimes we see individuals and families in situations where they've fallen behind on their rent. And the worst thing that you can do is ignore a conversation with the landlord. One of the first things you can do is contact the landlord and set up a plan of action to demonstrate possibilities on how you could pay back that rent. Perhaps offer to double your rent payment next month. Maybe you have some money coming in or you foresee a change in your financial situation. You can also suggest a new date to pay your outstanding rent, asking for a little bit more grace and time, but then also laying out a specific date that you could possibly catch up. And then, of course, if you are seeking rental assistance from an organization, show that you are doing that. Most organizations will gladly provide a letter stating that you are working with a particular organization. We have done that for our clients, and we have seen success in using those letters to say, hey, John Doe is working with us on a rent payment plan that we will help to clear his arrears. So there's multiple steps that you can do, but definitely don't ignore the conversation.
All right, let's talk about the conversation when it comes to wanting your landlord to do some repairs. This comes up very often, and people will email me and say, I'm just not going to pay my rent until they fix what I want them to fix. And what is the issue with that?
Well, first I would start by saying that in North Carolina, the law states that your landlord must keep your housing fit and safe. It also says that you, the tenant, must also keep your home clean, not damage your home. And so to make the law work, both the tenant and the landlord must do their part. But in the event that you are doing your part and the landlord is not doing their part, the landlord must make any repairs needed to keep your place fit and safe. They have to keep the plumbing and the heating, and they have to keep the sanitary and electrical equipment in good and safe working order. If the landlord is providing appliances like a stove or refrigerator, he must fix them if they break down. He must keep the stairs or the sidewalk and the common areas that are used by everyone in a building in safe condition. And if those things are not happening, and he is not abiding by even housing codes, you have to put things in writing. Oftentimes, landlords have a system of reporting, whether you report that to maintenance via phone call. Sometimes there are even applications being used on cell phones. However, rule of thumb, always put it in writing of any complaints about the way that you are being treated, or the way that you or the property is being maintained, or lack of maintenance.